All right, let me get started, and then by the time we turn over to Antonio, I'm sure the crowd will have finished joining. So thanks for joining, everyone. My name is Didier. I'm the technical lead for the HP developer community. I'm very pleased today to have Antonio with me, and this is going to be a Mediterranean flavor today because Antonio and I are only separated by a few hundred kilometers. Um, and today the talk is about the transformative impact of generative AI on telco product. Antonio is part of the Atonet acquisition, now part of HPE. And before I hand over to Antonio, I would like to go a few set of slides about some of the upcoming things within the HPE developer community. So this is part of our Munch and Learn series of talk, where we try to be every month, and since the last almost 3 years, we've been providing these talks, trying to be vendor and product agnostic, talk about trends, thought leadership. Today is Antonio, but we have a session already planned for June, where we'll get Kulan Bash from HP Labs and Gali Greno talking about digital twins. I don't have a Munch and Learn for May, but I'm still trying. So I will see if I can get one. I would like to avoid having holes in my agenda, so I'll try hard. We have another program called the Meetups. If you're not familiar, this goes into more details, maybe on a particular technology, open source, partner sometimes, but more topics have been covered. We have three meetups already planned, and I know Denis from my team, and we'll put the links in the Q&A. So if you're looking for the links on to register for those, it's possible. Take a look in the Q&A window. Anyway, we have coming up in April. This is another monthly program that we've been running for the last 2 years. In April, we're gonna have a session following up on the COM API, the GLP APIs. We'll have a session on the Aruba Central API, which, by the way, you can find all the replays in our Meetup and Munch and Learn pages. There will be a session dedicated to the Data Service Cloud Console API, and by a group of folks from the storage team. So that's going to be next week. In May, we have another meetup, and this is going to be delivered by our partner Red Hat, and they're going to be speaking about OpenShift and HP GreenLake. And finally, and this is brand new, we're going to have another partner come up in June and this is going to be after Discover, late June, for a session from Thales on implementing a centralized key management system for HP GreenLake. So more on security. So if you're interested by some of these talks, feel free to register. The links are already available for you to do so. And that's for the sessions and the webinars. We also have another way to learn new things, and called the Workshop on Demand. If you're not familiar with that, you can find the catalog of these workshops on this webpage. I think Denis will have pasted the link since already in the Q&A. We have about 30 workshops covering things like how to program in Python, in Rust, what's a REST API, but also things about some of our products, such as ILO, using Redfish a lot, OneView, and we have a workshop that we recently introduced on GLP, GreenLake Platform APIs. So try it. We use a Jupyter Notebook experience to deliver those training, if you want, 24/7, free of charge. So give it a try. Maybe you can use that to learn yourself, but also to teach other folks things if you want to run this in a kind of a classroom mode. Give it a try. If you do, provide some feedback. We're always eager to hear about what you thought about the experience, what you think is missing from this catalog that we should be working on. And finally, this is a community, so it works only if people are contributing to it and amplifying it. So if you like those talks, you feel free to invite others to join the talk. For the HP folks in the room, Remember, this is external people are in the room as well. You can forward this to customer, to partners, to students, anybody that you think could benefit from such a session. So feel free to invite. We have a monthly newsletter to keep up with what's coming up, what has been released on the website, for example, new blogs. So feel free to join the newsletter and invite others to join. We have a Slack for discussions. This is a dedicated Slack workspace that we pay for, and it's different from the HP internal Slack. And you can help answer questions from customer or partners. You can ask your own questions, of course. We have a Twitter or X account as well, if you're more into that type of communication, and you can join. And finally, if you're an SME, a subject matter expert for a particular topic, reach out to us, because we are interested to get more blogs, and maybe you can contribute one of these. We have a system in place that makes it easy for people to write blogs. Actually, Antonio wrote a blog to back up his talk here. You can find it on our blog page. You can also reach out to us if you want to deliver your subject matter expertise into a meetup or participate into an event. And finally, you can also help us build another workshop on demand. We have a framework, but we need content. So if you think we are missing something, there's a gap, feel free to reach out to us, and we can work together on building and filling up that gap. A quick recap of all our links. There is also, I mentioned the fact that we have an external Slack, but you can also find, for the HP folks in the room here, we have a Slack within the HP internal workspace. And for the partners in the room, I know we have a few. We have a Yammer group in which we continue to advertise all these talks that you can join. You can scan that QR code to get all these links in one place, in one web page. And this is time for me to hand it over to Antonio for the content of the session. Thank you.
Thanks, thanks Didier. Yeah, as Didier told, I'm part of a Atonet acquisition. Atonet is a telco company, is pioneering in the private mobile network environment. Mainly, we invite this system, and as Gianluca say, we are trying to democratize the telco communication thing with 5G, 4G technology on the enterprise. I'm product owner or product manager in Atonet, and from beginning of this year, I'm leading a project to try to do a digital transformation with generative AI. The webinar today is divided in two parts. The first part is more, let's say, high level. Try to explain a bit the business context and which is our vision about Gen AI in the telco space. When in the second part is a bit more practical, we did a proof of concept in the Mobile World Congress of Barcelona few months ago. So I repeat this demo, and after I'll give you more details about how we did this implementation. Yeah, but let's start from generative AI. So from last year, the hype of generative AI is incredible. This technology is very revolutionary. Is in a certain way.
Antonio, did you want me to run the little poll, or did you want to wait a little bit?
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, we have a poll. Yes, so you can run it. Sorry, okay. I forgot.
So I'm going to start the poll now, and Antonio wanted to get from you, and in order to understand a bit better, there's only 2 questions, so feel free to answer very quickly, so we can move on after that. I will share the results so everybody can see. Thank you.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, mainly half people use something like already use generative AI. So, and the company is already starting adopting it. It's good. Yeah, and let's say 30% is thinking that is a paradigm shift, but still more than 50% that is an impact. Okay, makes sense. Okay.
Thanks.
For the survey. Thanks. Yeah. Yeah. The result of this survey is in a certain way aligned with this article or Harvard Business Review that is about to turn generative AI from existential threat into a competitive advantage. So yeah, this technology is disrupted, but as the best innovation, maybe we can have a disruptive construction. So the author of this article thinks that it's possible to adopt this technology to create a competitive advantage and to create value for the customer. So we identify 3 types of adoption. The first one is to use the existing tool, the tool on the shelf. And this, in the short term, can already give you a competitive advantage because as we have seen in the poll, not all the company already now are using the generative AI. This will be limited for a certain amount of time because at least for the author, they think that everybody sooner or later will use these technologies. So to have a better competitive advantage is about to customize the tool. These technology are amazing because in a certain way they are general purpose. They can do a lot of things. But of course, they don't know your business, they don't know your customer. So in a certain way, putting information about your product, your business inside this system can help to make a better product for your customer. Last adoption is about not only using this technology, but also change a bit the mindset, create an ecosystem where you generate value for your customer. And with this technology, you create a system with a positive feedback loop where the customer can give you feedback about what is going on, and you can use this feedback to quick implement better product for your customer. So again, is about when and how to adopt these technologies. In Atonet, we have no doubt we want to do it starting now, and we want to reach the last adoption. So the one that help us to give the best value for our customer and create this positive feedback loop where the customer can in a certain way tell us what is going well, what we can improve, and we fast deliver more value again. To do it, we have defined a strategy based on 3 milestones. As you know, the telco domain is quite complex. There are a lot of standards, a lot of rules. Technology is cutting edge technologies. So first thing is try to customize this tool, LLM and the other generative AI tool, to know better about our technology, about our telco domain. So we start with the RAG use case. RAG means retrieval augmented generation. It is a way in which you can tell to the generative AI, to the large language model, to put more knowledge inside this system. Large language model like ChatGPT are amazing, but they are training on general data on the web. So they are not telco expert. Of course, they also read something related telco, but are not expert. And after that, they are trained few months ago. So they don't know the last update, and they don't know what happening inside Atonet, for instance, or what happening inside our customer. So the first thing is to take this technology, this knowledge, and put inside the tool, inside a RAG tool. These technology are very good because they can allow you to do a real digital transformation. In the past, do digital transformation was about to put information data inside the system. But this tool are smarter in a certain way because they can not only know the data, but they can also know the context. So in a certain way, you don't only put information, but you put also the reason inside the system. Second milestone is, okay, now that we have all these tools with all this specific knowledge. So for instance, we have a tool that is very good knowing the 5G standard, another tool that is very good to know the Atonet product, and so on and so forth. Or we can orchestrate all of them. And here there are a technology called reasoning engine, in which mainly you are able to orchestrate different tools containing different knowledge altogether. This is an amazing technology. In the second part of the webinar, I show you a proof of concept using this technology. It's very flexible and very easy to extend, because mainly adding a new tool and orchestrating a new tool is something that is done with low code or no code, because mainly you describe the tool to the reasoning engine, and after the reasoning engine know when to call the tool. Last thing is the customer, right? We want to have a competitive advantage, and we want to create added value for our customers. So we want to use the digital transformation that start inside the company to create better product for our customer, and after using still the same technology to collect the feedback from the customer and continuously improve this tool. So this is the strategy, is an ambition strategy, an ambition plan. To obtain it, we have some tactics, because it's a digital transformation. So as all the transformation is not only about technology, it's also about culture. And to really leverage this transformation, you have also to change a bit the culture of your company. First of all, is the tool, right? These generative AI tools are amazing, are very powerful, and they can help to customizing them, can help to give a better product for the telco world and also for the other domain. They can help to personalize the user experience and give a product for the customer, personalized for the customer. This technology use a lot of data. We have seen, we start the first milestone for data. And in a certain way, this help to create a tool in a faster way, because now it's not more needed to code everything, to code all the business logic. This technology, like the large language model, can do a lot of things. So just putting some data inside, they can help you to achieve a tool that can perform a lot of operation, like monitoring a network or retrieve information about some document, some product, or some standard. But to do it, you have to change a bit your mindset and think that the data are part of a product. So you have to handle data as in the past we handle the code. So mainly you have to version the data, you have to test your tool with the data, and so on and so forth. You have to consider also another things. This is a world is very fast moving. Every day there is a new technology or a new way to do something. And so you have to have a mindset of continuous improvement. You have to create an ecosystem, and also to use the technology that are flexible, that allow you to continue to use the last technology, the last techniques, to continue to improve your process and also your product. This is linked also with agility, agile mindset. Agility in the sense to create a product in an iterative way, to try to check if it's work, to go on, if it's not work, to pivot and to try something else. And agility also in the sense of customer centricity. So continues to create value for your customer and continues to deliver value for your customer. So we have seen the strategy, we have seen the tactics that we want to use, and this is the vision of a product. We think that if we follow this strategy and we use this tactic, we can create something that can support us in the full life cycle of generating value for our product. So yeah, as I told already a couple of times, the telco domain is very complex. normally big, if you have a big customer, maybe he request to you a lot of things, very specific of the domain, very technical, with some bid offer. You have to handle RFI, RFQ, you have to handle a lot of requests. After that, you have to give the request, pass the request, understand the request, understand if there is a business. So there is the product management team that has to funnel this request and convert them in something that the R&D can handle. The R&D develop, and of course, after we have to deliver the product to your customer. We are in the private enterprise, private mobile, private 5G for enterprise. So our solution are software, but sometimes they involve also the radio part, they involve also the delivery of hardware, so our complex system, so the delivery is an important part. And after, of course, there is the maintenance, there is the support to the customer, and so on and so forth. A lot of things, and can happen that from the first request of a customer to the delivery to the product, maybe some months pass. So we think that having something that help us in all this phase and record the information in all this phase can really help to improve the communication first inside the company and after also with the customer. So also giving him a better support and continues to improve his product. So, okay, this is the vision. Is quite ambitious. How we want to achieve this vision, where we have three pillars mainly. The first pillar is very important for us, is the why we are doing all this stuff. So we want to create something to achieve the last level of adoption. So creating positive feedback loop with our customer. And so we want a collaborative tool. Normally tool like ChatGPT or other tools similar are individual tool. OpenAI say, I want to create the perfect individual tool. I want to create the perfect trainer. And this is amazing. And it work great, but it work in the B2C. We are working in the B2B. We are delivering private mobile network to enterprise. And so can be a risk to create, to consider this technology only as individual tool. Some week ago, still in Harvard Business Review, exit an article that say that this technology can change the team dynamics. It was about a web conference and mainly the feature that, you know, when you speak transcript all the word and make a summary of a meeting. Again, is an amazing technology, very useful, but they discover that something changed, because if something is written, everything is written, people tend to speak more because they want the name appear in the summary. And this changed the dynamic because, you know, in the team, sometimes someone is a very good listener, maybe is an active listener. So it's not really important that speak a lot, but it's important that help the other, listen the other, and help the other to focus on what we want to do. Other maybe go to the meeting, have nothing interesting to say. So when they speak, mainly you are losing a bit of time. So there is this dynamics to pay attention. And there are also other dynamics. If you consider also this GenAI tool as individual tool, an example is, you know, we have to do a meeting to decide something. At the beginning, there is some people that think something, the other that thinks something a bit different. Before the meeting, they use this tool as individual tool. And you know, this tool, there is the risk that it amplify the human bias, like the confirmation bias. So it confirms that you are right. So when you go to a meeting, you can imagine communication can be more difficult, right? We don't want to do that. We want that the people use the tool all together from the beginning and use the tool to share information, to share knowledge, and to improve the communication. There is also another aspect about this part. You know, consider this tool only as an individual tool. It's great also for a business point of view, because you say this tool improve the performance of people of 10, 20, whatever %. And so you can do a business case. You say, okay, I introduce this tool, and so I improve 10% or 20%, whatever. Or you can also say, I put this automation, and so I need more people to do the same. Still, in the B2B, we are not sure that this really works, because you know, team dynamics are a bit complex. Sometimes math doesn't really work in team dynamics. So sometimes 1 plus 1 you want that makes 3, but sometimes 1 plus 1 still is equal to 1. And so it's important to consider also this team aspect, as it is important introducing something some disruptive and changing stuff to do a digital transformation to consider it. Second pillar is about usability. So yeah, we want to create a collaborative tool. Usability is very important. Here, I start putting the UI UX of a chatbot that can be a good starting point. But on the top, maybe we can have we can select personal chat or group chat. Doing a group chat with LLM, for instance, seems something very easy, but it's not. Nobody till now was able to do it. There was a character AI that take a big fund end of last year to do it, but didn't see nothing working till now. Nothing working really well till now. There is OpenAI that try to put some heuristic, but it's complex because, you know, if you put the LLM that every time that somebody writes something, answer, again, you change the communication dynamics. If you put the LLM answer after something like heuristic, like if nobody writes after 30 seconds, you can write something like that. Okay, it's still not the best, right? But okay, this is something that maybe we have to achieve also, as we don't have a solution. But with a recent development of OpenAI, for instance, they introduce enhancement on the memory. The memory of the chat is mainly the object that contain all the previous message that appear in the chat. And you can play a bit with this memory, moving from one chat to another. So yeah, we are thinking for instance, maybe to have a personal chat. At a certain point, you can share what you want or a summary of what you have done to a group chat, and after you can discuss. And after maybe only people chat, but maybe at a certain point you can ask the support of some bot. This is something that also HP try with Slack with some plugin. Another important thing is to focus on the project. The chat is very good because really help the people to focus on something. And we think that can be a good entry point to connect with the reasoning engine, so to connect with a lot of different tools. This is something that we believe is not the only way to use this technology. For instance, other companies are putting the LLM or this support inside the other tool. Still, this is good, but we think that if we want to have a collaborative tool and not the individual, it's better to start in this way. So usability is very important. In telco domain, is very important because the systems are so complex that have a lot of KPI. You have to retrieve a lot of information. You have a lot of metrics that sometimes, you know, only the test is not enough. So for us, we have to improve also the user experience, to add also something like maybe chart, pie, something to really to help the people only using this system to collaborate with the other people working in the same project, and also to access the information that can be in different tools. This can help to keep focus on what you're doing, so enhance productivity. It's something that sometimes psychology is also called the flow the flow state where you are really focused on something, and was used in other user. This user is knowing user experience. For instance, the e-learning tool are using this technique to try to keep you focused. So you are doing a learning of something, but after there is a quiz something, there is some documentation, and the good tools show you everything inside the same system. So this is the second pillar, and if the collaborative tool was the why we are doing what we want to do, this one is all we want to achieve. So now remain what we are doing. And from technical point of view, we want to do something that we have called the large language mesh. So a mesh of tool using LLM. This is start from the data mesh. I open a short parenthesis about it. So data mesh is an evolution of how people handle data. So at the beginning, there was the data silos, but it was not good because, you know, if you have to do correlation about the data in different silos, it was not possible. So after, people invented the data lake, and this was an amazing technology. So all the data together in this lake. But there was a problem, not a technical problem, but a problem about organize how to handle the data lake. So in general, there was three roles in data lake project. There was the people that generated data, and these people have no problem. They can generate whatever they want. There was the people that at the end was using the data, visualizing the data, make analytics of the data. Also, these people sometimes have problem because they don't have data, but okay, their life was not so complex. But after in the middle, there was some roles called data engineer that have a lot of problem because they have to create a pipeline from taking the data to putting the data to the people that use it. And there was a lot of different kind of pipeline, depending also of different domain. And this was very complex. So at a certain point, Tafor proposed this architecture, the data mesh. Data mesh was about to say, no, each data is a product, so it's specialized to do something, and it has to have an ownership. Of course, we don't want to lose the possibility to correlate the different data, so it has to provide connector to use data from another point. But it's something that should be handled by an owner and by a team. So the people doing a data product should handle the full pipeline from the generation of the data to the pipeline to handle the data to the visualization or to the use of the data. Of course, they say, okay, but we don't want that every people that do a product start from scratch. So they invent a platform with service that can be used by the people to do it. And they invent a federated governance so that every tools use the same policies. We think that this apply very well to the reasoning engine and to the LLM tool. And this is not surprising, right? Because at a certain point, an LLM is about data. So an LLM can also be seen as a different way to store data where, again, we are not storing only the information, we're storing also the reasoning, the context, but mainly is about the data. So we want to do a LLM mesh where each tool have an ownership as this boundary and is a tool. It has to work together with the other tool. And after I show you how. But of course, we don't want the people start from scratch creating their tool. So we created a platform, a self-serve platform, providing the most used service to create an LLM tool. And after, we put a federated governance and policy. This is very important here for GenAI because here we are not only speaking about data privacy, data security, but in any case is very important. But with GenAI, we are speaking also of ethical part, right? Responsibility, stuff like that. And so is also more important here. So, okay, this is the first part. Now I want to show you what a real product, a real POC using this principle. And after I give you more in details about what is about. So let me try to share. Sorry. I have recorded it, but I want to do a live demo. So let me show the screen. Okay, so this is our product, the Atonet dashboard, that normally is used to monitor or configure different private networks. So in this system, there is 3 labs, so it's not a real network, it's only for testing. And yeah, and this is our prototype of chatbot that allow you to chat with your system. So if I say I, it answer, right? But if I say list me the Atonet networks in the system, okay, so now is using API, is connecting to the system. Okay, and you see identified that there are 3 networks in the system. So here is a test environment, something is not going well. So let me try to chat again. So give me the throughput and the status of the second network. Sorry for the typo, but okay, using LLM is not so important, they understand. So now I want to go inside here. And so this network generates some traffic, but at the moment there is something not working because here the radio is down. And so you see that the bot was able to identify the throughput, identify that something is not working. So now I can go on. So I can say, give me the topology of this network. And so I try to chatting with a bot to understand what is going well or not well. You see, is this technology in a certain way simplify, right, the user experience, because chatting is something that we are very familiar, and you don't have to be very expert, right? It can give you details also if you are not so precise, it can in a certain way understand what you want. So you understand that now this is a 5G network on this virtual machine, and there is this network function. So everything looks fine, but okay, radio are not okay, because nobody is doing, there is no device doing traffic. So in reality, the network is fine, but nobody is generating traffic. Here, I have connected with a tool, the chatbot, to the network. But inside this tool is already a reasoning engine and contain more tools. So I can say, list me the tools that you know. For instance, here I put several tools. Something is like this one is a bit complex, so is interfacing through API the chatbot with our network. Other is something more simple, just the demo to say hello world. Something again is very simple, say, okay, now there is a problem, I have to go to Vicenza, for instance, so I can say, give me the temperature in Vicenza. And it tell me the temperature, so I can know what I can wear. And other maybe are contain information, are the RAG tool that we explained at the beginning. So here we have 2. I have the QI finder, but mainly I can ask, for instance, tell me the functionalities of UDM, that is a network function of 5G that handle the user interface. This is a system, is a tool that this tool is a tool that can work also without large language model. Is similar to the search bar of Aruba. So mainly here we take our product, our Atonet product, we put inside the system. We create fag with an LLM using this document. So we create a lot of question and answer. And we put them in a vector DB. The vector DB is a system where every statement is a point in this vector space, but this vector space is generated with a model that have the characteristics that put things that are similar close. So you see now the system give me 5 questions that are close to the one that I ask. But if I go here, I see that have a certain rate of similarity. So I didn't show the question because I didn't reach the threshold of similarity. But in any case, they put the question that you know, and they put also the information about where they are in this document. So if now I ask this one, for instance, now there will be a perfect match. So I'll have not only the list of questions, I have the real answer. And so you know now I can chat. I start with seeing something operative, chatting with API, and now I can chat also with documentation and so on and so forth. Yeah. Okay, here we started to introduce to improve the usability. We started to introduce also some interface. So some tools can also put an interface like the temperature finder. You can put the longitude, latitude, or we have created also some tool to help our R&D to improve the communication, to improve the documentation. So here they can put answer some question, and the tool give him more information. Okay, so okay, now you see that we have the answer and we have find that there is a perfect match because, of course, I copy the question. Okay, so this is the POC that we demonstrate also in Barcelona with more tools. And now I give you more details about how it is implemented. So you see also that we are trying to follow our vision and that we are trying to respect our pillar. So first of all, is a flexible architecture. It's based on 3 parts. There are the self-serve platform that helps to create tools, but also to create the chatbot. The chatbot is a web app with a reasoning engine. The tool, this is important, can be local, so can be in the same place where the chatbot is running. Or, you know, we are a private 5G company and we are on the cloud edge. So mainly the tool can be also web app located in different place. And if the connectivity is guaranteed, the reasoning engine can chat with it. This in our scenario where we work with private 5G, there are a lot of use cases where it's not possible to move some data for some place, or because for privacy security reason, or because, or maybe because they have a lot of data. So if you want real-time or near real-time information, you have to keep the data close where they are generated, right? So extending with tool with the remote tool is very important for us. Go more in details, the self-serve platform. So of course, we are leveraging the open source. There is an amazing ecosystem in Gen AI. There are a lot of amazing companies, LangChain, Hugging Face, Llama Index. A lot of people are doing great work. There are great library. The library are quite complex. So, you know, for instance, to create a RAG, the first thing that you have to do is to split the document in chunk. There are a lot of ways to do it by sentence, by number of character, and every day there is by semantic. Every day there is a new techniques. Here with the self-serve platform, we don't want we want to allow our customer ourselves to create a tool with no code and low code. So in a certain way, we abstract the complexity. We create some, let's say, boilerplate, so some already done system to do an operation. For instance, we already tried to do RAG with the Telco standard, the 5G standard. So we already have some function that already work. of course, behind is using the LangChain, the Llama index function. But what the self platform is exposing is only the high-level function where you say, okay, I want to do a section split, because maybe in technical document there are a lot of sections with a header, and so the best way after to query this document to retrieve information for the document for us is to do it. Is flexible, and we know that everything is changing and is changing fast. So mainly we create this function, this high-level function, but we use a factory pattern. What does it mean? It means that you call the factory if you need a RAG functionality to store data or to retrieve data. For instance, we have the integration with ChromaDB, that is our vector store where you can query data. So there is this function, but mainly you are not you are not calling directly this function in your code. Mainly you are calling a data manager that is hiding also the implementation, where you tell, okay, I want to do in this way, and so you select the implementation that we have choose with the parameter. And yeah, this help you to create a tool and to create your system. Second thing is the reasoning engine. The chatbot contains this reasoning engine. So more in details, what is a chatbot? A chatbot is done mainly by 4 components. There is prompt, that is the thing that you write, and there is a prompt engineering. So depending on how you write things, the result of what you get is different. There is the model. At the moment, we are using a private instance of ChatGPT, but there are a lot of models that can do these things. There is the memory that contains the information about the data, and that we want to contain the information also about the project to create the collaborative tool. And after, with a chain, you bind all together. So this is the normal chatbot, but from last year, ChatGPT, but now also other language models, allow you to add more functionality to this chatbot. So mainly you can add, to do a specific action, you can add agent and tools. So mainly before, when I ask information about the AtoNet network, mainly the reasoning, the initial chatbot was able to understand that it didn't know what is the status of the AtoNet network, because of course, the LLM is not trained on what is happening now in the AtoNet network, but it knows that there is a tool that can retrieve this information. And so it calls this tool, and the tool answer, and after it present the result on the chat. This is very powerful. It's a very clean architecture, because the orchestration is done by LLM, so you don't have to write too much code to do it. To understand which is the right tool, mainly you use a prompt. So you describe what the tool is doing with a text, and after you can tell to the reasoning, to the chatbot, how many tools do you have and what they are doing, and he understands which tool call which and when to call one tool on another. You understand, right? It's very flexible, and you can add how many tools you want in an easy way. In our project, we have also worked a lot in the tools. So we have seen that the self-serve platform are used to create the tool in an easy way. So we are working to go on and to try to do tool always in a more easy way. So with no code or low code. And yeah, mainly at the moment, you write your function. So you write your code, your business logic, whatever. And after, to put inside the system is enough to put a decorator. So just one line on top of your main function, and in automatically the self-serve platform transform your code in a tool that can be used by the chatbot. The tool can be everything. We have seen some tools that are very basic, like an API to ask the temperature in one place. It can be something more complex, like the RAG that we have seen. So we put information inside the system and the tool can retrieve information. Can be also something more complex. So at the big, in this, what I show you is like a star architecture, right? There is in the center the reasoning engine, and each tool is a point of a star. But you know, a tool, you can create a tool that is a multi-agent tool. So again, another reasoning engine or with something similar that can orchestrate different functions. So mainly you can have not a star architecture, but something like a snowflake architecture. And really here the fantasy is the limit of what you can do with these things. Yeah, we work a lot to make it simple to do this tool. And we also, due to the fact that everything is based on LLM at the moment, and the prompts are very important, we also introduce the concept of data as a code, because, you know, depending on how you describe the tool, the chatbot will call it or not when a user will ask something. So it's important also to consider this part. Last but not least is about the federated governance. So we have a governance, of course, you know, if you have the ambitions as us to create a collaborative tool, you have to take care of data privacy. I have a discussion with the data privacy officer of HP quite recently. They say, okay, but you know, each tool can have different data, but people are using the chatbot, maybe the LLM is trained with some data. Some people have access, some other not. So it's not so easy. You have to put privacy. You have to implement something like role-based access control, stuff like that. But yeah, you can do it. It's a bit complex, but is very important, and to make the system reliable is very important. But there is also the other aspect regarding ethics on AI. We are speaking on Gen AI, and it can change the team dynamics, right? What we have shown. We have told at the beginning. So it's important also to describe the right way to use the RAG to avoid the issue like hallucination. So the fact that the chatbot answer to you something that is not really inside any document. So we saw before, putting something like some KPI, like similarity, to understand if something is working or not in the system, if the information was really present in the system, can help. And also we put all this documentation inside our project, because at the moment is only that we write the policy inside our product, but you know, we are working with LLM. So maybe in future, we can find a way to use this document also to test our system, to check that really the policy, the guidelines that we have defined are really satisfied by the tool and by the platform. Okay, this was my last slide. So yeah, as Didier told, I did some blog post regarding this point. And for HP, guys, the project is open. So this is the GitHub link for the Atom project that contains also all this information. There is also a wiki page with more explanation. And we are start the process to make it open source also for the people outside HP. So we can, you know, create this value, this product, and maybe help also our customer to use this product. So having private mobile network with this advanced Gen AI and work it together to have a better product. And yeah.
Thank you, Antonio. I will quickly launch the end of session poll, so we get a chance to get some feedback from people. Thank you, everyone, for your staying here with us. I will just ask you if you could fill up the 3-question poll for the end of session. There is a question from, I don't know from who because it's anonymous, but what's the difference between a data mesh and a lineage? Lineage.
Okay, yeah, data lineage mainly is about to keep track of where the data generated, where are manipulated, and so on and so forth. So you can trap all the transformation of the data, and can be very useful when for debugging, but also if you have a policy of data that certain data can be used only in a certain way is very useful. Data mesh is different, is an architecture that maybe one service of the self-serve platform data mesh can be the data lineage service, but is a more complex architecture considering also other aspects.
So I can answer the next question from Loita. Yes, there will be a recording of the session. We have to go through the map process, and it will be made available on the Munch and Learn page, together with the slides from Antonio. So we should take no more than 3 or 4 days to get this on the website, and we will update immediately. There was also a question about how can other teams reuse that, but I think you answered this with the last slide. There's another one in the chat about how much resource this tool needs if it runs locally.
At the moment, it was a bit slow because it was running on my PC, so not too much, but of course depend on the tool, right? So the chatbot, in reality, the chatbot is using the instance of ChatGPT, the HP instance. So in reality, the LLM should run outside. After that, the web app can run in a PC, easy way. We are also thinking to put the reasoning engine in some use other model like Llama, so you can put not in your PC but maybe in another data center smaller. And after that, the consumption resources depend on the tool, right? Tools simples that call only API can run in a local PC are very easy. Tools more complex that are using an LLM or using a RAG with a vector database with a lot of document can be more heavy. For this reason, we have created the mesh, right? So you can locate the tool that run fast in your PC, the tool that are more hardware, request more hardware in a data center with the proper answer, with the proper resource. So at a certain point in the data mesh, we'll also create other UI, not only the chatbot for the user, but also maybe UI to help you, to handle the DevOps part, so handle the orchestration of the tool, also the deployment of different tools, or an ML ops part. But yeah, it depends. Some tools, if you use an LLM, can be very heavy of computing calculation on RAM. But the tool that I show you are all running on my PC. So basic tool are running also on a PC.
I think we have to stop. We went over the time. Thank you very much, Antonio, and thanks a lot, everyone, for staying with us. We'll talk to you next month if I found a Munch and Learn. Otherwise, we can talk to you at the next meetup. That's next week. Thank you very much, and thank you again, Antonio.
Thank you, everybody. Bye.
Bye-bye.